What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Coachable Podcast. Today, we are in studio in the Wynn, Las Vegas, right here in Blue Wire Studios, and I am super excited to be joined by my dear friend, Michael from Think Unbroken. He's also brand new to Vegas, and I'm excited because Michael has not only been on this show before, he's a returning guest now, and we're going to get into some more juicy topics around maybe dating, masculinity, transformation, change, transition, all of the good things, and what's really present for you right now. Here's the thing I love about Michael and why I want you back on the show as many times as possible is not only are you a fellow podcaster, you're an award-winning speaker, you're an incredible coach, but your story and your transformation from your what I would call a comeback story, like how you started and where you are now, is so inspiring. And you shared a lot of that on the first time you were on the show, and how you've been able to transform your identity over the years. Just first of all, welcome back, welcome to this amazing studio. Thanks for being here. Yeah. And how you doing?
I'm so good. First off, congratulations.
Thank you.
Incredibly proud of you as always.
Thank you.
This is dope. This is what I think when I see this is like, this is hard work pays off, right? Mm-hmm. I'm good. It's exciting to be in Vegas. I made some interesting decisions in my life over the last couple of months to put myself in a position to move towards the person that I want to be. Mm-hmm. And it was like, come here, do this, see what happens.
Yeah. What was the catalyst to what brought you here?
It felt right. Mm. You know, when I think about what we do as podcasters, as coaches, as speakers, you need to be in the place where the people are. Mm-hmm. Like if you're in Tuscaloosa, right, it probably isn't going to be very beneficial to you, right? And the same as if you're in Des Moines, right? Yeah. Go to the place. I try to always teach my clients this early on. I'm like, take inventory of your environment. Mm-hmm. And ask yourself, is this the place that I need to be able to have the life that I want to have? Mm-hmm. If the answer is unequivocally no, do something differently. Yeah. And so as I was living in Denver most recently, which is a fine city, there's two things. One, I fucking hate being cold, so that sucked really bad. And two, I was looking at it, I was like, this is an amazing city if you are that person into that Denver mold. Mm-hmm. I am not that person. Mm-hmm. Moves a little bit too slow for me.
So how have you been navigating the transition? Because it's been a year since I've been out in Vegas, but you and I both just did a move. I mean, you came here from Denver. I moved houses recently. A lot of stuff can get kicked up during transition in terms of just like your productivity, your routines, your just like old things from your life that you're going through boxes and needing to throw shit out. Like, how have you navigated transition? Has it been easy? Has it been challenging? How are you feeling? Are you feeling grounded yet? Or where are you at in the process?
Well, it's a great question, but I'm always in transition.
Yeah.
Like if I go look at my life as a child, being homeless at 8 years old, living with 30 different families for 4 years, sleeping on couches, vans, wherever I ended up, church members' houses, friends of friends, strangers, that continuing into my teens, getting kicked out of my house, staying at my best friend's house, staying at this person's, it's like I've always been in transition. And so I handle the chaos of that really, really well. And what I realized in this move, I made a declaration myself. I was like, you are going to make this home for minimal 2 years. Mm-hmm. Step into the discomfort of that peace, right? Yep. We thrive in chaos. I'm like, you put my back against the wall, I will fucking destroy everything in front of me, right? But the idea of peace and just being in something that you cultivate and create your own, that is the challenge. And so that is what I'm stepping into right now in real time, because what I've come to realize is I'm really, really effective when I have a lot going on all the time. But what happens if I turn it down a notch, which I've done a few times. Last time I turned it down a notch, I lived on the beaches of Thailand. I practiced Muay Thai. I wrote the first book. I drank coconuts and went on dates, and life was good, right? And then for the last almost 5 years, it's been this, like moving towards creating the business.
Yeah.
I was like, let me tone this back just a hair.
What's the longest you've been in one place?
Well, in my 20s, I was in Indiana for probably 7 years.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I got stuck there.
Yeah.
Effectively.
Sure.
Actually, it was a little longer. It was 9 years, because I'd moved to New York City when I was 18 years old with $500 in my pocket. That doesn't work.
Can't survive long in New York.
That is some movie shit.
Yeah.
And so I ended up back in Indiana. I stayed there. My grandmother fell into a coma. I ended up like trying to chase the American dream, which is the most nonsense I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
And then when I was 29, I was like, I gotta get out of there.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate to that, finding like order in chaos and kind of thriving in that environment where most people would get completely overwhelmed. And I have moments of overwhelm,
Of course.
um, especially when you're kind of in that messy middle. You're not where you were, you're not where necessarily you're going, or where you want to be yet. And that can feel like an ungrounding place. But now that I feel like I'm in my space, I'm in the studio, there have been things I'm like waiting to happen. And that can feel a little chaotic, but I can relate to you in that sense. And I think it's really important for people to hear that what you were just talking about is like part of your transformation in your healing journey, and just like your next level is like, how do I build some roots? How do I like root in one place? And how do I actually, maybe the challenge for me is staying put, or like slowing down, or being in one place for a certain amount of time so that I actually can cultivate and grow the community or the business or whatever I want to do. And I think it's so easy to be just swept up by the next best thing. I think a lot of us use that. I know I have in the past as a way of running from myself and my shit. Was like, what's the next move? Where's the next place I can go? What's the next city? Who's the next person I could date? Because it was in all of that transition that I could distract myself from the thing I actually wanted to avoid.
Yeah. And what's interesting about that, it's going to catch up with you,
Yeah.
right? You can go and run all the marathons and eat all the foods, do all the ice baths, blah, 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 whatever it is that you think you need to do to distract yourself from who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually it's going to come to you,
Mm-hmm.
because when you put your head on the pillow at night and you try to go to sleep, it's going to be pounding into your fucking head like, hey,
Yeah.
deal with this. And stepping into peace is really interesting, because it's this juxtaposition of looking at life through this aspect of like, what do I want to build and create, and how important is actual rest and recovery, because self-care versus taking it easy on yourself is predominant in the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people fake or feign burnout and justify the fact that their life isn't what they want because it's fucking hard.
Ooh.
Right. And so
Yeah.
now you're in this position where it's like, oh, I'm burned out because I had to go to a job I hate, quit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm burned out in this relationship because it's not the one I want, leave.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Build it, cultivate it, create it into the thing that you want it to be. And I think that this idea and concept about peace is about and this is from me, obviously, understanding how to navigate being in stillness
Mm-hmm.
by force. Right? It's this really weird thing that I've been like trying to negotiate and balance in my head. Like, can I make myself find peace
Mm-hmm.
at a deeper level in the place where I know that it also will grow the business to the next level, right? Because peace in Thailand, like for an example, as I traveled Asia for a while and did martial arts and wrote these books and blah, 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 was very different than peace in, okay, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to create routine, I'm going to go do all the things that one needs to do to go and build a life, but then I'm going to find spaces to turn off.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really interesting is this past week has been arguably one of the most chaotic and peaceful weeks of my entire life.
How so?
Well, in the business is business, and it's always going to be difficult, right? And there's always these things that we have to face. And dealing with loss and lawsuits or deaths or whatever is a part of it. Like, that comes with the territory. And then trying to find the place of just go to yoga tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool, man. It doesn't matter,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think a lot of that for me has just become the nomenclature of peace for me is, can I just be okay with everything not being on fire all the time? And even when it is on fire all the time, recognize that it actually doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Have you noticed, and that in the space we're at, where fire isn't burning, that actually your nervous system is more triggered and more like, is it more hypervigilant or chaotic because it's unfamiliar? Because it's like, I don't know how to be without the chaos. I don't know how to, like, my normal state is that there's a million things going on. And when there's not, that feels uncomfortable because it's so new, or it's nuanced, or it's just unfamiliar.
It used to be that way.
Yeah.
Like if I were to categorize 8 years ago, you'd be dead on, right? And now I'm more familiar with being aware.
Yeah.
Right. And awareness is such an important part of this. It's like, ask yourself where you're at. Like, I'll give you a great example. Last night I'm in yoga and I'm laying there and I'm just literally asking my body, like, what do I need? Right. Which is an unknown concept for a lot of people. It's kind of scary. It's a little weird at first. But if you really like lay down and close your eyes and you ask your body, like, what do you need? It will tell you.
Yeah.
And so my body was like, bro, no coffee tomorrow. I'm dead serious. And like, so I didn't have coffee today. And part of me is like, fuck you, body. You know,
Like, listen to me.
but it's like you have to be able to listen to yourself. And so to navigate those spaces, because anxiety is going to come, you know, the next crazy thing of your life is right around the corner. It always will be. And so if you can just ask your body what it needs, it will tell you. But you have to pay attention. You have to honor that. And I think a lot of people push back, and I have historically done that as well, where I'm like, no, I'm going to fight through it. And then you fight through it, and then you're in the hospital with IVs from exhaustion.
I know people like this. And you're obviously, I know you are a workaholic in some ways. You go really hard at the things that you love, and you're super committed to them. And I have other friends that come to mind that I think just continue to push and put their foot on the gas even when there are like lights going off that's saying, hey, you should slow down, or hey, like you need to get maintenance, do maintenance, do service on your equipment. And that's what the body's doing when it's like, I am.
And that's why you have to ask yourself this question. And I think it really is this juxtaposition. There are two sides of this, right? I don't look at myself as a workaholic in any capacity. I'm building a dream. We live in a country in which everyone is called a workaholic if you work over 50 hours a week. I'm not married, I don't have kids. What else am I going to do? Play fucking video games all night? And if I did that, people would be like, that's fine. Not a big deal. But that's not my lifestyle. And so I ask myself, like, what do I need? And in this question, am I taking care of myself, or am I taking it easy on myself? Because those are two very, very different
How do you differentiate them?
Because one, taking it easy on myself is this space of procrastination, of lying, of bullshitting, of not getting the thing done I know I need to get done, and then going and doing the things like playing video games or hanging out with people and wasting time. Taking care of myself is getting deep into myself and saying, what do I actually need right now? Do I actually need to, I'm dead serious, take a bath?
Sure.
Do I need to go to the gym? Do I need to lay on the other day I laid on my floor with a book for like 2 hours. Did I need that? Yeah. And I cleared my schedule. I did that. And so it's not only listening, but it's honoring what you hear.
Yeah.
And like being okay with it, because people beat themselves up about it. They're like, I feel guilty about taking time off. I'm like, don't do that to yourself. Here's why. Because then this is what I ended up doing when I ended up in the hospital years and years ago, just pure exhaustion. I was running multiple companies, traveling all the time, never stopping. And the thing that I didn't do, because I thought there was shame in it, was like taking a break. And now it's like the moment it feels true. And this is why honesty is really important, right? You can't lie to yourself. And if you try to lie to yourself, you're going to find out the truth one way or the other. And so I was like, all right, actually, I really need to break. I'm clearing my schedule. Leave me alone.
Yeah, because it's like, I was smiling when you said that, because Nikki is over here behind the scenes that people can't see on camera, but she and I spend a lot of time together, and she's the brains behind a lot of this operation. And this is a conversation she and I've been having around worthiness and deservability of rest and recovery, and what does that look like? And I know that's something that you and I have talked about too. It's the importance of rest, and how to strike a balance between productivity and pushing the ball forward and moving towards your goals and making progress, and balancing rest and restoration and relaxation, and feeling deserving of that. Because I think a lot of people have a story around rest as not being productive. And or even possibly that peace is intertwined in that like I don't either deserve peace, or I'm not allowed to have peace, or I've just accepted a level of exhaustion in my life that I'm always going to live with. Where do you, like, how does that relate to you?
I think you have to recognize that a lot of that comes from codependency.
How so?
That's the thing that people don't recognize. Like, if in your head you are using this language, I bend over backwards for other people, I'm like, yo, you should probably check yourself. That's really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Because here's why. You will never stop doing that. And then the next thing that you know, you are never showing up for yourself. You see this all the time with women. I am not a woman. Let's be very clear about that. I don't even know what the fuck's going on in your guys' head most of the time. But I know this. Women in this country, in this world, are indoctrinated in this idea of give to everyone else and put yourself last.
We're taught that love is self-sacrificing.
And that's nonsense. Literally just last night, I was like, it is a lie that you should put other people before you. The most important person in your life should be you, period. There should not be shame or guilt about that, because nobody else lives for you, loves for you, eats for you, goes to the gym for you, sits down and has this conversation but you. And so if you don't take care of yourself because you've been lied to by society that it's got to be about other people, and I'm not saying there's not a balance of that. You know what I'm saying? But
Sure.
like the vast majority of the time of your life, you should recognize that you are the most important person in the room.
Right.
That is not about ego. That is about truth. Because I can't be in this room with you if you didn't make yourself important to you. I can't be in this room if I didn't make myself important to me. And we often feel like, especially like if you, for my example, I come from a very abusive background, raised by women who were very abusive. And so I learned how to always be the quiet person, back of the room, yes, no, codependent. I will do Tori, I will do anything for you to like me. And I don't care what it is. Listen to your favorite music, eat at your favorite restaurant, wear the clothes you want me to wear, speak the way you want me to speak, all this bullshit. Why? On the small, infinitesimally uncalculable chance that you're going to like me for 8 seconds. And that's what we do as people. We bury ourselves in this notion that if I give you all of me, you will in reciprocation love me. And then we burn ourselves out. Because we're always chasing the thing that someone else can't give. Like, you've never once in your life felt this deep, immense sense of fulfillment from another person if you did not first give it to yourself.
Right. Everything that we think like the thing that we think we want is actually a feeling that's sourced from inside of us. It's like, I think I want this relationship, or I think I want this career or this opportunity. And what we're really saying is I want the feeling I think that's going to give me. And that feeling is accessible now internally in you. And I agree with you. I think the thing that if we have this expectation that someone else is going to give us, maybe someone else is going to think we're important. Someone else is going to think we're special. I think it's Marianne Williamson that says it's like, we look for other people to give us that. And it's like, how can I find someone who thinks I'm important if I don't even think I'm important?
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. And then you're just lying to yourself, right?
Right.
I go look back at my old relationships and I'm like, dude, why were you in that? I mean, I was in such a toxic relationship at one point that the girl that I was with, we were cheating on each other. We both knew, but we kept coming back to each other because we felt like we gave each other the thing that we need. And one day we go to lunch, and I'm going to tell you a story I never tell anybody ever. You know this story, but I'm going to share. So we go to lunch. She invites this guy to lunch with us. And I sit down, and I'm like, you're fucking that guy. Like, in my head, I just knew, like, the energy, you know what I mean? Like, we are energetic beings. We can read each other.
Pick
like
it up.
books.
Pick up what you're putting
It's
down.
it's the same way as, like, you know, when you're on the highway and somebody's 4 lanes over and you look over and they look back at you and you're like, how do they do that? Like,
Yeah.
that's energy, right? And so we're sitting there and I'm like, okay, something's off here. I confront her about it. She goes, yes. And I go, well, that's okay. I know how to solve this problem. I'm going to go to the jewelry store. I'm going to go to the jewelry. Keep in mind, I'm 24.
Okay.
I know nothing of the world. I haven't started the journey that I'm now in. And I'm like, I'm going to buy an engagement ring. That'll solve this.
Yeah.
Codependency.
Right.
And I go to her house and I go, I think we can fix this. Let's just get married.
That's the solution.
That's the fucking solution. The greatest thing ever in my entire life happened in that moment. Literally, I can trace this back in terms of dating and relationship. She goes, no. And I was like, thank God one of us finally stood up to the other one.
Yeah.
And then she marries the dude she's cheating on me with on my birthday.
No, I didn't realize that was the
The one.
one.
Right?
Wow.
And I'm so glad that happened, because it really spiraled me out, like in a dark way. It got real dark in my life for a period of time where I'm like, just random hookups and getting drunk every night, and just like the chaos of my life went tenfold because I was alone.
Right.
Like, even though I was hooking up with all these people, I was still alone, because I'm like, one of them will fill me up. One of them, somehow, some way, I will find love, compassion, joy, hope, happiness through you. And of course, obviously, that didn't work. And so I found myself in this really weird position where it was like I had to force myself into solitude. It took me a couple of years to get there, because I hadn't yet started doing the work and going to therapy and getting coaching and reading the books and all the things that I was doing. But when I was 20, not heading into 30, I was like, you got to be single, bro. No dating, no hooking up. And it was for 4 years, I was straight single. And for a lot of that, just totally celibate.
Isn't it crazy, though, how you were talking about codependency, and that in those moments where, you find out your girlfriend's cheating on you, and you are like, let me throw a Hail Mary and propose so that I don't have to lose this thing that's familiar, even though it's killing me.
Yeah, not even Nick Saban could win that game.
Right. It's like it's this desperate plea to not have to endure the sharp pain of change and transition and letting go and being honest about where, like, the health of ourselves and the relationship and the dynamic that we're in. And so I think it's just important for us to like normalize and see like the links in which we will go to not have to do the work.
But let me tell you why.
Yeah.
There's a layer of this that people don't truly understand. We communicate in the way that we learn as children. So think about this for a second. Your parents hit each other. They yell at each other. They scream at each other. That trickles down into you. Your language of love becomes pain. And I'm sitting here one day, I'm like looking back, reflecting on that relationship. I'd been away from it for a long time. We hadn't spoken in years. Still don't have any interest in speaking to this human. I realized, I was like, fuck, you're dating your mother. Like, how many people are dating their mother, dating their father, suffering? And look, they're willing to suffer as long as it's not more than they make themselves suffer.
Right.
The language I was using with myself at that time is insane. Think about the words that you're using with yourself when you're in a relationship that's unfulfilling, that's painful, that's hurtful, that is full of infidelity and suffering. I guarantee that you are being so incredibly mean to yourself that it's just on par with what this person is doing to you.
Yeah.
And it's only when that breaks the dam, when they do the one thing that's maybe too much. Because, and this is real, and I've coached thousands of people over the years. Some people will take and tolerate up to, you can smack me in the face, right? But you call me a bitch and I'm out, right? And that's like a crazy juxtaposition. And so I think the thing that you have to do is like sit in it and go, why am I allowing this?
Yeah.
Well, because your parents may have treated you like this.
Well, and I think we will always get what we tolerate from people. And you hear that a lot. But when you think about, okay, well, why do I tolerate this? There's some part of me that believes I deserve it.
Yeah.
Or that I am not worthy of having anything else. Or that I have my brain is wired in such a way that it defines this as love. This was my idea and in my example of love, because your parents are, or whoever your primary caregivers are, your first example of love. Even if you are neglected that, then that becomes your idea of what a loving relationship is not having the thing, not getting your needs met, not being met with kindness and compassion and understanding and support and empathy and encouragement. And so you're like, oh, this feels like home.
It's a dark place to be.
So how did you start to detach from the idea of love that you grew up with, and start to redefine that as you started to mature and reclaim and say, I want a different kind of love.
Yeah. Well, I think in part it's the same thing that I teach my clients, where it's like when you sign the dotted line, like, and you're like, I'm going to go on this journey, you have to acknowledge and accept that this is a rest of your life game. I am always learning. I am always in iteration. I am always in the process of gathering data based on failed experiments against the hypothesis that I could have the thing that I'm seeking. And the way that I look at it, I believe that a lot of it comes down to clarity. And so every aspect and element of my life, I write down with nuanced details that's almost asinine to some extent. But at least it gives me clarity on what I'm moving towards. And so it's really trial by fire, for lack of a better way to phrase it, because it's this consummate thing of like, can I move forward into this while knowing that if the person on the other side isn't in reciprocation of that, that this is impossible and I have to walk away, right? And not to get trapped in. I remember hearing this and not understanding it until I understood it. Love isn't enough. And some people, I would much rather be in a relationship where I'm respected than when I'm loved with no respect, right? I think respect is paramount to everything, but that respect starts with you first. Be integrous. Be a person of value, right? Be a person of honesty and truth who does the thing that they say they're going to do when they say they're going to do it. Do not negotiate with yourself, ever. And do not negotiate with your dreams. With the dreams of the relationship, the business, the finances, the health, the body, the hobbies, the career. Don't negotiate, right? And people get caught up in so much where they'll watch all these reality TV shows about love, and they'll watch all like The Bachelor. That's the dumbest thing on planet Earth. Like, why? You're creating a false narrative of expectation where it's like people expect relationships to be perfect. Even friendships, like we're great friends. Our friendship is not perfect. It will never be. Because we are humans and we are fallible. And we hold people to this high esteem that we don't hold ourselves to, and we expect them to be that person when we aren't that person.
And then we're offended when they
And then we're like,
aren't.
yeah, we're like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Right?
Look in
Can
the
I
mirror.
work on it? Can I step into it? Can I build into that? And so as I'm navigating any relationship, whether it's interpersonal or personal, whether it's career or on the street, it's like, how am I showing up? Am I being authentic? Am I being transparent? Am I being the person that I know in my heart I am? Like on my bathroom mirror, everyone who's ever read my books or listened to the podcast or follow me in any capacity know that I believe in one moniker overall: no excuses, just results. Right? You know this.
I know it.
You know this. All right, cool. So apply that to everything. Stop making excuses for your relationship sucking, for your health, for your career, for your business, and step into truth. It's not about pushing yourself to the breaking point. This is where we're at on this conversation. It's about be honest with yourself.
It sounds like it's about accountability.
100%. How the hell are you going to expect somebody else to be accountable if you can't look in the mirror and know that you're being accountable to you first?
Right. Yeah. What does this look like now? Like, what's dating like in Vegas? Because I know you're new to Vegas. Have you dated at all? And what does that look like? What does this level of self-awareness look like as you navigate dating as an adult? Because I think there's this message out there that people get told, which is like, you need to love yourself before you can love anybody else, and you need to be healed before you can have like a good, healthy relationship. And I think, like you were saying, we're all in process. We're all evolving. We're all in transition. I have not arrived. There's still parts of me that I'm working on and will forever be working on healing. First of all, how's the dating life now? How's dating in Vegas? And then we'll get into like, how do you actually navigate the triggers and the trauma, that stuff that you're working on?
Dating's really difficult for me because I believe one thing to be true, that time is my most valuable resource.
Yeah.
And I'm not even showing, like literally, think about this. How often I'm going to give people practical dating advice right now.
Let's go.
I'm not a dating coach, but I've been on lots of dates. Here's the thing that you do. Get on a FaceTime with them for 17 minutes.
Okay.
There's no reason to get in your car, to drive across town, to sit down. Definitely don't have dinner with somebody the first time. That's like a trap waiting to happen. Go and hop on a FaceTime with them. Just say, I want to be able to have this little 15 minutes to decide if it's worth the investment to go to the next level, right? Which is go grab coffee with somebody, go on a walk, go something simple, right? And so because that's my process, like I'll hop on a FaceTime with somebody, but 99% of the time we're just not going anywhere further. Why? Because I'm intentional. This is, oh my God. Someone once told me one time that I'm a control freak. And I was like, I am? Thanks for telling me something I didn't know. I want what I want. And you should too. You should only ever get exactly what you want. And in these calls, what I will do is I'll ask 5 questions. What are your values? Tori, if you cannot tell me your values, that means you don't know who you are. How in the world can you connect to another human being if you don't know what you stand for? And the old adage, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Sure.
Right? So what are your values? How do you handle failure? Like I'm interviewing people.
I was just about to say that. I was like, no pressure, ladies, but you're being interviewed in this.
We're all being interviewed.
Yeah.
We're always all being interviewed.
Yeah.
From the profile you create, to the words that you use, to the pictures that you use, to the clothes you wear, to the glasses or the necklace or the rock on your finger. You are being interviewed and measured by other people at all times, right? Now, if I have clarity about what I want because of the high level value woman that I'm seeking, they're going to have answers to those questions. Why? Here's why, because they've done the work. So how do you handle failure? What inspires you? Here's one. Here's the curveball of all of them. I swear to God, this is the one. What's the last book you read? The average CEO reads like 50 books a year. The average American who lives an average life reads less than one.
Right.
Okay, cool. I'm not average. Do you want average?
Nope.
So ask them how many books they've read this year.
Sure.
Right? And so dating for me is, it's this thing that I've put a lot of effort and intention to because in the past I didn't, and I would just go on a date with anyone at any time and hook up with them and be like, well, I guess this is life.
Yeah.
I don't have the emotional energy for that. It's fucking exhausting, right? So I'm very clear about that.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing. The truth is dating and building any kind of relationship takes time. And you were just talking about time being your most valuable asset. And there are seasons where it's like, I've talked to this. There's a guy that was been on this show, Chris Vasquez, who's amazing, and he's a CEO and he runs his own thing down in Miami. And he was saying like, I could not be married or be in a relationship right now because my business is my baby, and I couldn't give the time and energy I would need and would require to nourish it and take care of it and to grow it the way it would need and like deserve. And so I just know that the season I'm in doesn't allow for that right now. And that's also okay too, but because I think both of you are very intentional in understanding like these good things take time and you only have so much time and energy. And so once you have been so used to putting all of your time into yourself, into your business, to have someone else come into that and to start to require some of that time, it's like, okay, now how do I start to balance taking care of myself, taking care of my business, and taking care of this relationship? And I've found in my personal life that hasn't always been very easy for me.
Yeah.
I can get preoccupied in one or the other.
That's exactly.
And lose track of one aspect, right? So I'll either neglect the business or neglect the personal stuff or neglect the relationship. And I don't know, that's something I'm learning. I'm like, can you actually give all of yourself to all the things, and I don't know if you can.
No,
I think there's always going to be something that's not necessarily in a deficit, but that's getting more of your attention than others.
Well, there's seasons, right?
Yeah.
And so in some seasons, like my season for the vast majority of the last decade plus of my life has been getting to the place of being okay with the reflection in the mirror, and B, running the businesses, right? Growing my speaking career, becoming a better podcaster, all of those things. And then, it sat with me last year. And when I started dating, it was like to do something incredible, like have a billboard of me up in Times Square twice in 6 months.
Which you have.
Twice, which was a dream of mine as a kid. I said one day I'll have a billboard in Times Square. I did it twice in 6 months. It's this really amazing feeling. it's like to come home and not have this celebration with someone. When I realized that, I was like, okay, cool. You focus so much on this thing, go and have the other thing, because you can have both, right? And so it hasn't happened yet. And I'm not being like particular to the point in which it's impossible, but I realize like if I consider myself to be very specific in terms of the quality of man I am. And what that means is I'm a person that shows up. I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. I'm going to honor all of the dreams that I have, knowing that as long as I do that, I'll die without regret. And if I can find someone who has a similar mindset, I think we can go take on the world, right? Because most of the time you have people who go, Tori, like you're building your business. It's Tuesday, go to the movies with me, right? And you're like, I'm building my shit, right? You shouldn't have to sacrifice your dreams to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
And people do that all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's really dangerous. And to your point, you like one of the things I think about also is as you come from trauma, if you come from a background of pain and suffering, of hurt, you don't trust people, you don't love people, you become codependent, and then you may have attachment styles that are insecure. We'll find reasons and self-sabotage relationships to be like, I knew I was right, right? And I've been very solution-oriented and being like, can I prove that I'm right, that it's possible? And if you don't have a solid foundation from the jump of possibility of that hypothesis being true, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Totally.
Because most people sacrifice who they are, what they want, what they need, their boundaries, their values, and their morals because somebody's attracted to them. Because somebody gave them attention.
Yeah.
And they're like, this person likes me, so I'm going to sacrifice all the rest of my life. And I'm like, why? Why would you do that to yourself? Because that's going to lead to contempt. That's going to lead to resentment. And that's why we have a 60% plus divorce rate in this country.
Yeah, I think there's too many people settling for breadcrumbs for sure. Because they've gotten just a little bit. And it's like, here, I'll give you a little bit of attention and then I'll ignore you. Or here, I'll call you when it's convenient and that'll feel good and we'll have some connection. And then you'll wonder where I am and I'll be doing other things. And I won't communicate about that. And I think it's easy for people who may be anxious or a little bit more on the insecure side of attachment styles to take what they can feel like, I'll just take what I can get.
Yeah.
Because this is all I've ever been given. And what you're saying is I've switched the narrative from I'll just take what I can get and I will settle for that and I'll be okay with that. And I'll accept that that's just going to be my reality. And or I'll accept that all the evidence in my life is just continuing to prove this story that I'm going to be alone or I can't trust anybody or no one really will ever truly love me. And you're saying, no, I'm flipping that script and I'm saying I'm looking for evidence that it's possible to have the thing that I want to have truly.
Yeah. We're already really, really, really good at failure, right? We're as humans in general, we are good at letting ourselves down, allowing other people to let us down. We're good at not showing up. We're good at not following through. We're good at beating ourselves up over nothing. And so why would we allow another person to do that to us as well? And when I really started to realize as I got deeper into doing this work and recognizing the impact of this abuse, right? There's causation and correlation to everything in life. It's a domino effect. You settle as a child because you don't have a choice. Right? And so if we are in our developmental years learning that it is okay to get less than what we want, which is often reinforced by pain. Like I remember the most dangerous thing I could do as a kid was to ask for something of any capacity. Like, can I get a glass of water? My stepdad would literally throw me into a wall. Okay? So how do you voice your needs when you've only been told and it's been reinforced, which now then turns into a biological response that expressing your needs equals danger. And if expressing your needs equals danger and the brain's primary function is survival, how the hell are you ever going to express your needs? Right? Especially in intimacy.
And that's maybe why we expect people to read our minds
because
we don't. Now I need a partner that's going to read my mind because because my brain is wired in such a way that says speaking my needs is threatening. Right. Yeah. That takes time and intention to rewire for sure. Do you have any thoughts or just like personal experience on how you navigate some of these things in terms of when you're triggered, when trauma responses come up, especially in you know, in relationships with people, because it's natural that the things that remind you of the past that you may or may not have worked through yet might come up and might take you into kind of a trauma response. Like, what do you say to people, or what do you do when that happens to you?
Yeah, that is the question, right? There are levels to this game. That's how I think about this. You are constantly in evolution as a human being, as a learning being, as someone who is on this journey. And I think it's in your best interest to recognize that if you can leverage this idea of doing things differently instead of trying to do things better, like I can't measure better. It's like really hard to put better on the table and go, that feels better. It's easy to look at difference. Is the behavior different than yesterday? Now, think about this. If the thing that you struggle with is asking for your needs, how do you get better at asking for your needs when you're crippled by the idea of doing it? And thus, most people, it's like standing on the edge of the diving board. Like, you're not going to jump in. Like, you can stand there all day. You're just not going to do it. But what you can do is you can recognize you can do something different. Doing something different, I believe, starts with evaluation. Can you look at your environment? Can you look at the thing that you are surrounded by with the people you are with in real time and ask yourself this question: am I safe?
Yeah.
Because if the brain is always like, I have to create a parameter of safety by not asking for my needs, but you can actually circumvent that and go to the place of asking yourself, am I safe? Guess what? You mitigate the risk of that happening. Right? And so you ask yourself, am I safe? The answer is yes, which generally speaking it will be. Now you have to have the willingness to face the fear of potential rejection.
Yeah.
And that's across the board for anything. That's business, that's asking for the raise, that's dating, relationships, the whole nine. It's walking into the gym, right? Some people, and those who know my story, I was 350 pounds. I was fat, right? Like, and I was so fearful of walking into a gym, but I'm like, this is probably the place I should be. And so I sat in my car one day and I was like, am I going to be safe if I walk in there? And I couldn't find a reason why I wouldn't be. So I walked in. And that applies across the board with everything.
Yeah.
Like, create that parameter of safety. Your brain's a liar. Have you ever asked, this is a serious question. Have you ever once in your life said to yourself, damn it, I knew I should have trusted my brain? But how many times have you said, I knew I should have trusted my gut? That person, that place, that thing, that event, that whatever, right? Where we started this conversation, get inside of your body and ask yourself questions, because you will find the truth in that.
And in getting inside your body, only inside of there can you start to hear the answer to, am I safe? Because you feel safety within your body, right? I mean, because the mind might say, this doesn't feel safe, but you actually, like, you can look and tune in and be like, is there an actual threat? Because a phone call from an ex or from a boss. I remember I used to work for a CEO that when he called me, my whole body went into
You got to quit that job.
went into a panic, and it felt completely unsafe. And that was my body trying to get my attention and say, this is not a situation you need to be in anymore, right? And we can ignore that gut feeling, or we can listen to it, right? And so I totally agree with you in terms of safety is the requirement to start to learn how to do things differently and respond differently to the things that trigger us or upset, especially in any type of relationship, because relationships are where our deepest wounds happened.
Yeah.
And they're also where our healing happens.
That's exactly what I was going to say. If you want to find out, let me circle back into a question you asked me twofold. This is the other half of that question. For me, knowing my evolution has always been mirrored by the people that I'm surrounded with. And so when I look at my friends, I look at the people I date, I look at the people I'm intimate with, like, it is a complete and clear reflection of the person that I am and have become.
Yeah.
And if you go look at your friends and your relationships right now, it will tell you everything you need to know about your journey.
That's so true. So true. I was talking to someone about this earlier this week, and I was being interviewed on her podcast, and she was having this aha moment where she was realizing, I was like, the fact that we're having this conversation should be affirm who you're becoming, right? Because just because of the proximity of the types of people you're calling into your experience, it's showing you that you are becoming a certain type of person. And people move in and out of your experience based on your choices, how you think, how you feel, how you act, and the results of your life are a reflection of those things. So as we evolve and as we grow, our environments and the relationships that we're in shift and change, and they should. And if you've had, I'm not saying, I think it's really amazing that some people have had friendships since they were kids, but in my experience, I can look back over the course of my life and see kind of this trajectory of the types of people I was around at certain phases of my life and how those have shifted based on the work I've done on myself personally.
Yeah. And that's beautiful. Right. And a lot of people, you hear this all the time in personal development. Go look at your 5 friends, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll show you your future.
Yeah. There's truth in that, but there's also something that's a little deeper that I don't think people talk about a lot. And that's like, go look at the people who want you around.
Mm.
Are you a high value person? Are you a person of character? Do you show up? Are you integrous? Do you do what you say you're going to do? Are you leading life? Are you the most important person? Mm-hmm. Because if people want you around because they can use you and abuse you and take from you and cross sell you and all of these things, what does that say about you? Like, what does that say about you?
Right.
Like, and you have to be willing to be brutally honest with yourself and be like, here's the hard part, Tori. This is the part where people are going to email me. I'm going to get canceled again. This is your fault. This is your fault. Because there are things in your life you are not culpable for. Like, dude, it is not my fault my mom cut my finger off when I was 4 years old. It's not my fault I was a homeless kid. It's not my fault the fact that I had to sell drugs to survive in a neighborhood in which my friends got murdered. My 3 best friends are gone. That ain't on me, right? Every single decision of every single day is on me, period. And that's the ownership. That's the accountability. And if there are people in your life using you and you feel it, fucking do something about it. Because if you don't, now you're just going to continue to play this game.
And the reason I think people don't, the thing that immediately comes to mind is because people would rather be used than be alone.
Yeah. And I'm the opposite, because I would rather be alone than know that someone is taking from me. And that is where confidence comes in and self-belief. And people are like, well, I'll be completely by myself. I'm like, motherfucker, there are 8 billion people on planet Earth. You don't think you can go find 3 or 4 who are solid? Right? There's meetup.com, for fuck's sake. Right? I'm serious. I mean, it's funny, but it's true.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing to cultivate and create the life that you want?
What I did was I started to source and look for people and this started online. I didn't know these people. These were strangers. I started listening to podcasts like this and I was like, okay, that lands for me. I feel like I'm really into what they're talking about. These people online became like my friends that I didn't have in real life.
Totally. I relate entirely.
Yeah. And then slowly but surely, I started to insert myself in their lives. Yeah. Even through coaching programs, I hired them. I went on retreats with them. I wanted to get around them because I didn't know how else to do it. And that was sort of the beginning of a restructuring of some of my friendships at a certain point in my life, because I didn't have those reference points and I didn't have the connections around me that I necessarily wanted, but I went where I could to find them. And that looked like going online to social media and podcasts and that kind of thing. And so I do think, and I share that because I think a lot of people can relate to that. It's like, if you're sort of like walking away or like distancing yourself from people in your life and you're starting to try and create new types of connections that you've never had before, there's a period of time where you walk alone for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got to be willing to walk alone and walk your own path if the people in your life aren't going that way, you got to be willing to walk by yourself for a little while, and then you will bump into people that are on that same path.
Yeah. A thought came to mind. As you go down this path, you are going to have to take people out of your life. It is not going to be fun. It's not enjoyable. Nobody likes doing it. When I was 18, I told my mother, I will never talk to you again. And I didn't, except like maybe once, till the day she died. Because there is a 0% chance I would be here with you right now otherwise, because she was a taker, right? Now I look back and I know that her trauma was massive. Like, I look at my grandmother like, yeah, I can see, I get it. Trust me, it's not lost on me. But as you go down this path, you have to ask yourself this question, like, if I were in danger, could I trust this person? Right? There's something to that where you have to recognize and understand that the people who love and support you will always have your back. Like, I know I can pick up my phone and call you. I believe that, right? You and I, we've been across the country, we've been on stages together, we've done this multiple times, right? There are certain people where I'm like, I cannot wait to block your phone number.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. Like, you have to hold accountable the people in your life in the same way that you do for yourself. And I don't want to harp on this, but what I am getting to is that part of this journey is taking people out of your life.
That's the idea of, like, as you go up on the elevator, you got to let some people off on the floor.
Kick them the fuck out. Get off the elevator.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not that I don't love you. It's not that I don't care for you and I want the best of you, because I hope, like anyone in the world, you go get the thing that you want to get. But if you and I are in massive conflict, I can't trust you, I don't believe in you, bye.
Well, and I want to be really candid and say, like, I will be the first to say, as I've sort of climbed levels over the years, personally and professionally, and I started going up the metaphorical elevator, right? I've gotten out on some floors with some people who are getting off, and I was like, I'm not ready to part ways yet, so I'm going to get off on this floor with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
sure.
I'm going to hang out here for a while.
Sure.
And then I realized, okay, I got to keep going up. I got to keep moving up, and that means we got to part ways at some point. And you're not always ready to do that, at the time. And that's okay. I want to say that that's okay too, because we're all figuring this out in our own time and in our own way. And if you've parked yourself on a floor with some people, you can always make the choice to get back on the elevator and start moving up on your own, or whenever you decide. That's the beauty of being human, is you get to decide.
Yeah. That's the entirety.
Yeah.
Make a decision.
Yeah.
Indecision is going to destroy your life. Waffling will kill you, right? There's no way around it, because I would rather move in the wrong direction than no direction at all. And you hear people say this all the time, but I'm like, okay, if me today has been able to navigate the things of the past that have led me to today, then me of the future will be able to navigate what's happening now. And that's trusting yourself, believing in yourself, having confidence that you can take on whatever is coming. And you can. You made it this far. Like, life is not rocket science. Like, it's really not. It's just a continuum of decision making, right? You make poor decisions, you have poor results. You don't trust yourself, you have poor results. You get around the wrong people, you have poor results. You don't ask the right questions, you have poor results, right? And so look for the opportunity, look for the solution, look for the thing that is there in front of you that you can trust, and just go, let's see what happens. Don't be so rigid that there's no space for the what if. Right? That's dangerous. That's not going to work, because even though I want to control as many variables as humanly possible, there's actually really only one variable that I can control: me.
Yeah.
I can't control Tori.
And that's, I think, if people get anything from this conversation, I hope they get that, which is like, control the controllables. That is you and your reactions and your decisions and your choices. And that's what you're responsible for at the end of the day.
And here's what's really interesting. In relationships, you're going to really find out who you are, because you're going to get, we are not hurt more than by the people that we love the most.
Right.
Why? Because we've let our guard down. We've been intimate with them. We've shared secrets with them. We've gone through the throes of war effectively with them, right? Like there's something to the concept like love is war, right? And it's this battle that you're going in together. And if you have clarity about the destination and who you are, and you're in alignment with values and your mission, your vision, your interest, all of the things that create you both individually and together, like, man, there's so much potential for opportunity there, right? But you can't get caught up in the they're not perfect. You aren't either, dummy. I don't know if you knew this or not,
Yeah.
right? So why don't you tone it down a little bit?
Yeah.
Look for I look at it like this. So every foundation has cornerstones and pillars that keep that foundation up, even under the most disastrous of events. That's why I ask those questions, right? Because I'm like, if I can create these foundations and these pillars with you, I think we could take on all comers, right? But that starts with you too. I know my values. I know my foundations. I know my boundaries, my wants, my needs, my interests, my goals, nuanced, right? And so my hope is that people will allow themselves really, and my hope for their takeaway is for them to allow themselves what they want.
Yeah.
It's okay to
want
get
what
what
you
you
want.
want. Yeah, it's okay. You should get it. Like I know people who own private jets, who are billionaires, who travel the world and impact in beautiful ways. They're not selfish. So why are you selfish for wanting what you want? Because you've been lied to.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a huge permission slip that so many people need to hear right now, which is like, you deserve what you desire.
You have to earn it though.
Sure.
Let's be clear about that. You're not going to like manifest it into reality, right? There's going to be actions that's required. Most of those actions are you.
Yeah.
People are like, yeah, I need to go over there, but like you showed up. You invested, you went on the retreats, you did the coaching calls, you did all the things. You put money on the table.
It's true. I mean, people could probably tune in who haven't been here or privy to my journey and what it's taken to get to this point, but they could turn on the show and see what it is now and think, oh, that was just handed to her, or she's this or she's that. You know, they don't know the years that I was in my kitchen recording my podcast, because I was in a kitchen recording with you the first time we did,
Yes.
you know, and the consistent, diligent effort that's put in over the course of time that has then wielded these types of results. And now there's, you know, I've planted a seed and I continued to water it over the course of several years. So yeah, I agree with you. It takes work. It takes effort. It takes intention. It's not just we don't just get to be like, I want to order from the cosmic universe restaurant. These are the things that I want, and now I expect it to be delivered to my table.
If you could do that, life wouldn't be worth living. There's no challenge.
It's so true.
There's no challenge. There's nothing. I mean, life is probably too easy now. Like I talk about this a lot with the men I coach. I'm like, how are you pushing yourself into discomfort on a daily basis to become the man? I'm speaking only with the men that I'm coaching. Like, how do you push yourself into manhood as defined by you, not from society, by challenging yourself? And I think everyone needs to do this for clarity, right? By the way. But it's like for me in my journey and trying to figure out who I am as a man, it's like I can sit there and order from the cosmic menu. I'm not going to get it delivered, and then I'm going to blame everybody else. Or I can sit down and go, I'm going to go get that anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that's the cornerstone. That's what you've been able to do. That's what I've been able to do to the level that we are at. You and I are on the elevator. We are not yet to where we want to go. There are more stops to be made. It is a journey. It's going to suck. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be hard. It's going to be enthralling. It will be all the things that life is and can be. As long as you don't quit, you will get it. I think about this all the time. Like, one of my biggest dreams, I want to have a beautiful lake house. It's going to be about $5 million, floor to ceiling windows, 4-car garage, the whole thing, where I can sit down in the morning and go down into the basement that has these giant, beautiful windows that see over the lake and write my next New York Times best-selling book. And I don't give a fuck if I don't get that till the day I die, as long as I get it.
Yeah, I love that you have that level of clarity and conviction about it. And I think that's what it takes. That's how I you know, what I thought when I wanted to be in the studio. I just was like, I don't know how I'm going to make this happen, but I'm going to make this happen.
But, and I want to say something too, because I think it's really important. Me having that level of conviction and clarity is still coming through the same voice that used to say I'm a fucking loser. So be mindful of your words.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. One of the common denominators of the people that sit in your chair and that I interview, and I talk to a lot of successful people across industries, from entertainment to sports, business to spirituality, to all the things. And one of the things that consistently comes up when I ask them about what it means to be coachable, and what I mean when I say being coachable is how do I learn to do things differently? One of the common themes people say is I learn to, that comfort is not my friend, and I've learned to embrace discomfort. That actually comfort can be my biggest, roadblock, is my addiction to being comfortable. And so many of the people that sit where you sit talk about the importance of getting uncomfortable. And that's the thing that they've learned, is to embrace being uncomfortable consistently, in the lessons that they extract from that.
Yeah. And my question would be, in the context of this conversation, what if that level of discomfort is peace?
Right.
In relationships,
Yeah.
in life. Not that you're not pushing yourself forward, because it's a must, but can you have peace? Can you have a relationship where you're not screamed at, where you're not hit, where you're not abused, because that's what your parents did? Can you have friends who take care of you and don't only want to party and do cocaine all night long because they're trying to have healthy bodies so they can grow big businesses? Do you have friends who are willing to invest in themselves, who show up to the game and ride the elevator with you? Because that's different than the friends who used to break into houses and steal cars with you. Right? Can discomfort be the opposite of everything that you've known to be true that has held you back?
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's the discomfort of doing things in a way you've never done them before, and having the thing you've never had before.
Yeah.
Because
People think it's ice baths. It's
Right.
not.
it can be. Doesn't mean it has to be.
It helps,
Sure.
but it's not that. It's the evaluation of everything happening in your life that's different than what it has been.
Yes. And learning that gets to be okay, and you get to have that peace, and that gets to be your new normal. Yeah, that you're allowed to have what you've never had before.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
But that's letting go. That's shedding the identity. That's taking the old version of you and putting it behind the old gun shed and putting it down.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a big part of the transformation that we have to have, is that you are not what you think you are. You are what you do. You are how you show up. You are the way that you navigate the world.
Yeah. What are you working on right now that you want people to know about, if anything, and what are you excited about to share with people before we end today?
Yeah, continuing to grow the podcast. Obviously, Think Unbroken podcast is a big deal for me. We're getting ready to launch a men's coaching group program for leaders, entrepreneurs, and men who want to be men who grew up in trauma. Something dawned on me recently as I was looking at the journey of both myself independently and my younger brothers who have become these really incredible men. I was like, I feel called to serve men who grew up in trauma, who were raised by women, which is a lot. A lot. And I was like, if I can do this and I can see the changes my brothers have had through some of my influence, but mainly through the things that they've gone that I hope I've inspired them to do, maybe I can help men at scale, right? Become men.
Yeah.
Right? And that feels like this really interesting calling that I'm about to pursue. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I heard that still small voice in a meditation say, go help men.
Yeah. I mean, men need other men to show them the way, especially when you didn't have that example growing up.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of courage to walk that path and to find, the mentors and the leaders and the coaches that can help you become who you're destined to be. And I appreciate you and acknowledge you and honor you for stepping up to the plate and being that for people. So thank you.
Same.
Yeah. I love you, my friend.
Love you too.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. Where can people find you? Obviously, the Think Unbroken podcast. We'll put all of that in the show notes so people can find your show and also listen back to our first episode if they're interested. But where do you hang out online, and how can people follow? Yeah, everywhere on social at Michael Unbroken. And I'm the only person that checks my social media. So if you message me, I will message you back. That's eventually. Very, very rare. Yes. And I can say from my own experience, that's it's a big undertaking. So it means a lot when you do get responses and they're really heartfelt. So thank you. You're welcome back anytime. Till next time, you guys, I hope that you go apply some of the things that you learned here today, because don't let the information, the knowledge, the wisdom go in one ear and out the other. It only becomes embodied wisdom when you actually apply it. That's when knowledge becomes power, is when you apply the knowledge that you have. So go do that this week. Share this with a friend. We love you. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week on the Coachable Podcast.